Tell me about a memory of a brook or a stream.
In the first house we lived in Williston, we had a stream that ran from the other side of the interstate, and it was like a little boy's dream. Jake, our first kid, would play out there in the stream forever. Spring days, he'd come in, his hands were nearly blue. He would make little dams, he would float boats, he would make boats to float
I
in
have to
there.
slam on the brakes because there's like otter and I can barely see it, but I realize what it is. I'm like, otter! Because like, oh, there's an otter, where did he go? And there's another one coming down the dam. It's like, did he go back through there already that quickly? It turns out there are two and they're starting to chatter with each other and they don't really seem to care that we're there, so we get like this far away from them, which is so cool to be like close to an otter. And when they see us, they both dive into like these muddy explosions underwater.
When I was young, we had a cabin in New Hampshire in the White Mountains, and it was right on a river, but in order to get to the river, we had to pass over a stream. And the stream emptied right into the river, right down from our house. And it was so neat because the water was really cold compared to the river. So you'd step in the stream and it would be really cold, and then you could go jump into the river and it would feel warm. And there were little sundew plants there, so we'd always take little pieces of grass and make the sundew clothes.
I can remember going out back of our house to our neighbors with my brother and sister and floating little toy plastic boats through the stream and waiting for them to come underneath the bridge and out the other side. And I don't remember very often being allowed to go out and do that on our own, but I remember that when we were allowed to, it was really fun, and it was usually a hot day, so we took our shoes off and got in the stream and loved to watch the boats float through. And over at my grandma's house, she has a brook, and I can remember after times where there was lots of rain, it used to pool up next to it went under the road through a culvert, and then there was like this deep pool, and there was always minnows there in the springtime, and so we would go down with our nets and try to catch the minnows and put them in buckets for a little while and watch them swim around. And it's probably
when I was a kid, we used to go down to Allen Brook, where it went on Route 2 in Williston. Brad and I used to go down there with, we had an old minnow trap and some nets, and we'd catch stuff. And then we'd always catch bloodsuckers. Or one of us would wade in there and we'd always get them all over our legs or our hands or something. It was kind of gross. Catch crayfish sometimes.
Down the street from where I lived, there was a stream, sort of a creek that went through the field. And it went through clay, gray clay, and so we would play in the stream, and then we would dig clay out and make clay bowls.
Where I grew up in Massachusetts, there were two brooks that crossed on either side of where my house was, because I lived in the water district for the town, so we were kind of the only house that was near the brooks. And we used to go walk one way and there'd be a brook going one way, and then we'd walk the other way and there was a brook going the other way. And although we didn't play in it very much because they were kind of fast moving, we would still make that a part of our walk. And I really remember the best memory of those brooks is when they flooded, because instead of 3 ways to leave our house, there was only one, because both of those flooded for maybe a week to 2 weeks. So we couldn't take the bus, we had to get a ride. But I recently went back to those brooks and they look a lot different because the water has changed.